We are at the Microsoft Techdays in Amsterdam, and I'm talking to Corey Sanders from the Microsoft Azure team. Welcome, Corey.
Thank you.
Nice to talk to you.
Yeah.
Can you tell us something about the Azure roadmap that lies ahead?
Yeah, you know, as I've been talking about a little bit here, there's a few areas specifically for developers that we're seeing excitement. You know, one is a growing usage of containers, right? And I think you know, we already have the Azure Container Service in place, and so there's a lot of opportunity for us to continue to expand support for containers in the platform, and I think you're going to see a lot of improvements in those areas across many of our different services. The other thing that we've seen a lot on is microservices, and you know, obviously with Service Fabric, we've seen a lot of excitement and growth, and this is a really big sort of a new pattern for developing applications, and something that we've been focusing a lot on both support and capabilities on. And then I think probably the last that we're seeing a lot of interest on is Azure Functions, available today to be able to do sort of a more of a serverless type approach, where you end up paying just for the execution of your app, and that's all you sort of focus on, and you'll continue to see more and more focus there, more improvements in that area to continue to expand out serverless as sort of a platform construct. Okay. Yeah.
Can you tell us a bit more about specifically the app service and Service Fabric?
Yeah, so these are some of the two popular developer services we've got on App Service. You know, the capabilities on both mobile and web to be able to spin up a website within seconds even, and connect it. And then some of the capabilities that we're seeing as part of App Service and as part of web apps there is integration with some of the CI/CD tooling as well. And so one of the demos that I showed even this week was the integration to do full sort of CI integration, so the full build and then deployment directly into an app service web slot is very, very powerful and easy for developers to use. And then Service Fabric is our microservices-based platform, and it's something that we just recently launched Linux support. So we had Windows support for a long time, and just even last couple weeks ago we launched Linux support and standalone support. So you can now run Service Fabric both in public Azure, you can run it on-prem, you can run it even in other clouds. And so this has been a big area of focus for us in growth as we get more and more excited by the possibilities of microservice-based architectures.
Okay. If we narrow down on microservices, how does it fit in the picture? And can you tell us a bit, how do you perceive the adoption rate for microservices?
Yeah, definitely. So, I mean, we've seen a lot of growth with microservices and with Service Fabric specifically. And it runs a lot of different industries. You know, some of the ones, great examples, we've seen a lot of IoT scenarios start taking advantage of microservice-based solutions and Service Fabric. We've seen some complex websites and you know, media sites that take advantage of it. TalkTalk is a good example of a media site that takes advantage of Service Fabric and has built an architecture around it. And so we're seeing a lot of growth and interest there. It's becoming a part of an overall architecture where you'll have Service Fabric maybe doing your queuing technology, but then maybe you'll use App Service for your actual web front end, right? Or perhaps use Azure Functions to be able to talk to DocumentDB to store some of your data in. And so we're starting to see these very interesting combination of services come together and architecting sort of massive applications where different components are being brought together to bring a total whole picture that's really, really easy to use, easy to manage, and easy to deploy to repeatedly.
Great. And in your experience, it's gaining momentum.
It is, yeah. It's growing really quickly, and some industries more than others, but it is growing very quickly. It's mostly net new apps though. So whether it be large enterprises or whether it be startups, it's typically a brand new app that's being written in this model. We don't see as much of the lift and shift approach. So it's very, very much sort of that next generation of app.
Recently, Microsoft announced the Azure App Service MySQL in-app. What do you think is the main reason for this? Is it part of the roadmap, or is it to promote Azure App Service to the developers community?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the biggest reasons was just ease of use. I mean, there was a big demand for being able to deploy with App Service, to be able to deploy directly using MySQL. Obviously, the integration with SQLDB is very strong and has been for a long time. And so, if you're writing to to a SQL database, it's very, very easy. But with MySQL now, with this support in app, it's very easy to write to MySQL as well. And so, it again extends out sort of the promise of App Service, which is getting your app up and running, fully coded and fully deployed really, really quickly. And so now you can do that with SQLDB. You can also do that with the MySQL N app. And so that's really the goal. And that's going to continue to drive a lot of the work in App Service and functions, is how do you make sure you get people coded and developed and deployed really, really quickly. Yeah.
Well, finally, what do you think is, for you, is the main challenge for the, let's say, the coming year?
Oh, that's a good one. I think as is always the case with these types of big shifts in development, it's the careful balance between helping developers understand the new models, understand the ways in which to code to those new models, but also not to abuse them, right? I think that this is something that always is kind of this challenge of, you've got to find the right scenarios for those models, right? And so, microservices isn't for every app in the world. Serverless isn't the right thing for everything you're doing, right? And so you've got to find the right models, the right platforms to meet the needs of that given app. And so this is going to be a challenge. It's going to be an ongoing challenge, both in explaining our services, but also just the overall ecosystem, how it comes together, and the best ways to use it in sort of the fastest and easiest ways. So it'll be fun. It's going to be a fun time. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much for the interview.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, and thank you for having me.